Well, hello, everybody. Pastor Kyle here with your recovery meeting from Freedom Journey Ministries, and we have been in step 7, which is this. We humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. Last meeting, we talked a little bit about the idea of inviting God in to your shortcomings, where He can empower you to overcome temptation and your weaknesses, and that is really what it means to work this step properly. Today we're going to be continuing in that vein as we talk a little bit from the Life Recovery Devotional, which can be found on Google. If you just type in that word, Life Recovery Devotional PDF, download the one from Tyndale House and you can follow along with me today. Today's devotional is called Pride, Born of Hurt. And so here's what it says. Our pride can keep us from asking for what we need. We may have grown up in families or relationships where we were constantly refused, ignored, or disappointed. No one listened when we asked that our needs be met. Some of us may have reacted by determining to become self-sufficient. We were not going to ask for help. In fact, we were going to strive to never need anyone's help ever again. It is this type of pride, born of hurt, that will hold us back from asking God to remove our shortcomings. And we'll stop there for just a moment because that's such a powerful understanding. You know, self-reliance seems to be a very common theme among those in recovery, or at least those in addiction. We've learned to get by on our own ways, our own techniques and those kinds of things. And oftentimes we become so connected with that world of getting by via our own devices that we do develop a sort of pride. And I think that's such a great understanding. But the question becomes, does that come from the hurt of your past? It's well known that those in addiction came from broken homes and broken families, and oftentimes that creates the context in which somebody begins to use drugs and alcohol because we've been so hurt and we've been so damaged, and all of a sudden we have to numb it with some kind of substance. And as a result of being hurt by others, being rejected by others, we disconnect and we isolate and we just develop a sense of pride in which we won't receive help from anybody. And I think today God is wanting you to understand how good of a Father He is, how trustworthy He is. This is why He gives us an entire book of promises called the Bible, where the whole story shows God's faithfulness to mankind despite our unfaithfulness to Him, so that upon that basis we can begin to develop trust in Him. That even when we've not been able to trust any human being, we can trust God, because He's a promise keeper. And I think that is where we need to lay down our pride and be able to say, you know what? Even though I was hurt and I lost trust in people and I've never been able to rely on anybody, I can rely on God to take away my shortcomings, to come in and empower me in my moment of weakness and help me to be victorious in Jesus. Let's continue. Jesus said, keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And everyone who knocks, the door will be open. That's Luke chapter 11, verse 9 through 10. If your children ask for a loaf of bread, do you give them a stone instead? Or if they ask for a fish, do you give them a snake? Of course not. So if you, sinful people, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask Him? And that's Matthew chapter 7, verse 9 through 11. We must come to the place of giving up our prideful self-sufficiency. We must be willing to ask for help. And we can't ask for help just once and be done with it. We must be persistent and ask repeatedly as the needs arise. When we practice step 7 in this way, we can be assured that our loving Heavenly Father will respond by giving us good gifts and by removing our shortcomings. And here's the quote. God promises to lovingly respond when we ask Him for help. You know, I work with a lot of men who are in addiction, and so I think oftentimes this masculinity pursuit that we get into often continues to play into that factor of not wanting to ask anybody for help. The great thing about being broken, about coming to the end of yourself through addiction, is that you have a prime opportunity to have humility for the first time in your life. You know, I know people who are in such denial and they've always had everything handed to them on a silver platter, and they've never really went through anything that broke them, and as a result, they don't see a need for asking people for help because in their own mind they have everything that they want. And at the end of the day, they miss out on the most important thing, which is coming to know Jesus Christ as Creator. And that's the key to looking at recovery from the right perspective, is if you have been broken through life by the turmoil of addiction, I think that you actually might be more blessed than anybody in the world, because you get to see life from the right perspective. That life is not about us, it's about God. And that when we come to that point of being broken, we're able to humble ourselves and humbly ask for help. So that's so important to keep in mind as we are working through this process of being restored by God into His amazing eternal blessings. I hope today really encouraged your heart, and I hope you'll be willing to let go of pride, because I like to call it the poison of pride, because pride really does. It blinds you, it poisons you, it clouds your perspective, it clouds your judgment, keeps you from being able to see things as they really are. And it keeps you from being able to really experience the promotion that is relevant to God's kingdom, because in God's kingdom it says the first shall become last and the last shall become first. And we've got to learn to rewire ourselves and recognize that in order to truly attain a high position, you can only do so through humility. Because those who obtain a high position in life or success or achieving things that bring satisfaction through their own pride, they eventually lose it all, whether it be in this life or in the next life. So, I want to encourage you today. Today is your opportunity to humbly ask God to remove those shortcomings, inviting Him into your life to fill in the spaces that you can't, to be the strength in those areas that you're weak, so that you can walk in true victory. And when people ask you, how did you get to where you are? You're able to say, Jesus Christ, the Lord of heaven and earth, gave me the power to be victorious. And you're able to be a light of eternal significance, bringing people out of darkness, out of eternal separation from God, into an eternal relationship with Himself. So I'm encouraging you. We're going to be jumping into step 8 coming this Friday, so make sure you're ready to tune in then. God bless you, and we'll see you then.